Hey guys, meteorologist Lindsey Slater here. So we're dealing with some air quality issues. This is something I talked about yesterday on my YouTube channel as well, and also, of course, on air. So we do still have some air quality issues. The Channel 12 news team and the meteorologists here, we use airnow.gov. We find it to be really consistent, but those air quality advisories are issued from the DNR. So there are two different sources there that we are looking at. So air quality. This morning we were in the unhealthy zone. We were in the red color and now we're in the orange. So this basically does indicate that we do have, there's the unhealthy stuff. It has moved its way to the north and east as expected. Right now in Milwaukee, we have moderate to unhealthy or sensitive for some. Basically, that category just means that we do have some folks that could be dealing with some issues. If you have lung or heart issues, I keep wanting to say like combining lung and heart, lung and heart issues. Just something to keep in mind. But we are going to see improving air quality today. All this again is because of wildfire smoke that's in Canada. So as we look at the vertically integrated smoke, this is basically a product that shows us how the smoke is going to interact with the jet stream and where the smoke is going to be heading when the worst of it's going to move out. And from what I've noticed, you can see that little plume right here is now exiting. So we're done with that. Yes, the fires are still burning. You can see that, especially right here. It looks like there's quite a bit there in that province. So that is descending south. However, we have a big ridge that's kind of set up, and that's going to carry that up and around us and going towards the Hudson more likely. At least that's what I'm seeing here. As far as it hitting the surface, that's usually the big thing. So yesterday we had these skies that were very milky, and that was because the smoke was in the upper atmosphere. I'm just going to scoot over my webcam so you guys can see. Oops, here we go. There I am. So you can see based on this at this point that we do have that smoke that's at the surface, but it will be exiting. You see how it exits toward the end of this frame and then it's gone. So nothing really to worry about. But if you go back to the beginning of this, you can see there's quite a bit of it there. And that's why we had those air quality advisories in effect. When is it all gone? Well, as we go to, let's see, 13, 14, 15, 16, about, it looks like it's gone by about 3 p.m. So the air quality advisory is in effect until noon, and that's mainly because that's where you have some more dangerous conditions. But I don't see this lasting that much longer, which is great. So we're just about done with that. UV index today is going to be about a 9, so you can see the spectrum goes all the way to about 15, and that is something that you know especially on somebody who is from Wisconsin, if you get to like 10 and 11, you could get burned pretty easily. But like if you look at areas in like Hawaii at a 12 and Alaska at a 2. So it's all about that sun angle. So that's UV index today. There's the air quality advisories in effect for much of the Midwest, including northern Minnesota, all of Wisconsin, all of Michigan and the UP as well. So there's quite a bit of that. A lot of flooding still going on in Texas. It is crazy, but they're stuck in a pattern, and that pattern unfortunately does include quite a bit of moisture coming in from the south, and it just gets stalled right over here, and it's just hitting the same spots over and over and over again. So they have more of those flash flood warnings that are in effect. When does this pattern change? Well, this is what I like to call a zonal flow. Zonal. You can get a meridional flow when the jet stream kind of does a big swoop and a ridge. A zonal flow means it's pretty much just wiggles or it's kind of straight. And you can see that right here, how it's just kind of straight, little ridging going on over here. But as we go through time, it stays in that zonal pattern. So I just don't see anything that we have right now changing in a big way. So this is going into Saturday, still in a zonal pattern. Right here, I was like pointing at it. You guys can't see that. Right here is when we have that cold front that's on the way. So you see that little dip in the jet. That's because that low is on the way. So it does bring in a little bit more refreshing air briefly right here. And then it goes right back to heat and humidity. See how that heat is building right here? Maybe that'll help to block out some of those storms to Texas, but it just, oh, the pattern's just bad. Now you can see this right here. This almost resembles an omega block pattern. And what is an omega block pattern? I'm glad you asked. Omega block pattern. It looks like the symbol omega, and it kind of resembles this, a meridional pattern. Basically, you can Google it and you can read more about how it actually functions. Of course, the picture's not showing up. So that's from the National Weather Service. But if I show images, you can see an omega block pattern really showcases like a big ridge followed by 2 different troughs. So that is an omega block pattern, basically. And we don't have one. It just kind of resembles an omega block. That would be a stagnant pattern. It takes a pretty serious system to knock us out of that. What does that mean for us weather-wise? Well, that means that we would be pretty hot and humid. That's by the middle to the end of the month. It looks like we're kind of stuck in some heat there toward the end of the month. So we'll see. Lots of dipping going on by the end of the month as well. As far as right now, latest satellite showcasing just a couple of clouds to the north, everything dissipating. Sometimes you can look at satellite and see the wildfire smoke. Kind of tough to see on this particular image. But if I go to the Weather Prediction Center, you can see the fronts that we have. There's our frontal boundary right here. That's heading our way for Wednesday. I'm not looking at a lot of precip. I would say about an inch, maybe up to an inch is possible. Then we have another chance as we go into Thursday as well that could bring us an additional half of an inch. Not a big rainmaker, but it is a slow mover. And then the Storm Prediction Center has us in a day 3 risk. It's like a 1 out of 5 risk at this point. So I would think that areas in the southwestern part of the state might get added to a slight risk. We'll see. I do see some indications that we could get some stronger storms that day. And let's go ahead and showcase right here. This would be happening Wednesday. We peak in those mid 80s. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down on this website, and you can see the Cape, the energy right here is peaking right around 2,200 joules per kilogram, which is pretty high for us. I mean, I wouldn't say high. It's decent Cape. I don't see a lot of wind shear. And wind shear is again what tilts your thunderstorms, which makes them stronger. So if we go to Wednesday, all the shear is to the west. And that's why I think the Storm Prediction Center has issues or has that threshold for day 3. Also, probably this a lot of energy in Wisconsin. Let's take a look at some SKUTs. This kind of gives us an idea as to what we're looking at here. So, yeah, we have a lot of dry air in the mid levels. We have moist conditions down toward the surface. We have some decent cape, not really any capping. Photographs. This isn't that impressive when it comes to like tornadic activity. We have it in the correct quadrant, but I wouldn't say this is a tornado situation. If anything, this is going to be something that brings us some gusty winds, the potential of also some small hail if we can get some updrafts going. With that kind of energy, you can get some nice updrafts. So I'm going to take a look at the exact same thing, but this one just gives me a few more parameters. You see at the bottom, I get some, you guys can't see it. I have to move the webcam again. Gosh, goodness. Look at that. There we go. Down here, I'm going to zoom it in. All right, so I see all this stuff here. You have things like lifted index, and we have Cape values that show 1500. So I'm going to go back up. This is for, it looks like 21Z on Tuesday. So we don't want to look at Tuesday. We want to look at Wednesday. Wednesday at 18Z. Okay, so the sounding looks similar. Look at all of this energy right here. This big column is lots of energy. So between the dashed line, which is where the air parcel is going to go, in reference to the blue line is temperature. Everything in between that is your convective available potential energy. And that's at 3,000 according to the NAM, the national the North American model, sorry. And that's some good energy. I don't like the LFC and LCL heights so close together, but again, the hodograph is really teeny. Yes, we have some veering winds, but I just don't feel like you're going to get big supercells with a hodograph that looks like that. Yeah, I would say this could bring some hail. There's no cap. It's actually negative cap. Hail is about a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. So yeah, I would say this would be definitely down. I would say good updrafts, the potential of some gusty winds. And also I'm looking at, yeah, the Holicity is just not giving me the willies at all, which is good. I'm looking at this with you live, so I haven't actually looked at this particular sounding just yet. As we look at Cape, yep, okay, we have storm severity index. Shear's okay. I mean, it's marginal, but I am looking for lapse rates are pretty good. How fast things can descend through the atmosphere. So I mean, yeah, I think we got some potential there. I was looking for PWatts, which gives me how much which gives me a good idea as to how much moisture we have in the atmosphere. Oh, there it is. PWatts, 1.5. I've seen higher. So it's going to be a humid, moist day. There's lots of energy that we have to play with. There's very dry air here, so it's going to take time for that to moisten up. So that's pretty interesting. And then if we go a couple hours further, you see then we develop a cap right there. That little thing, that little hashed area right here, this little bend. So now the air parcel has to break through that in order to rise. So that would be happening at 21Z, which is about 3 p.m. But since the cap is already broken at that point because of earlier you don't have one, I would say that we're probably going to see these scattered showers and storms. And then you can see it really kind of curving here, really highlighting that we have more of a cap to deal with going into about 6 p.m. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting. I will definitely keep my eye on it. The indices look even higher at 9 p.m. So we'll see how this all comes together. What I don't like to see is this right here. See how that hodograph goes out now and it curves? That's a more impressive photograph. So I will keep a very close eye on that. The LFC and LCL heights are not close together, which would inhibit tornadoes from descending as much. If they're close together, you can get rotation and then you can get it to the ground. If they're super far apart, it's harder to create those vortices. So something I'm definitely going to keep watching as we go to Wednesday. I don't think the H trip goes out that far just yet. I just am getting in on the 12Z model. So I don't think that goes out too far yet, but I think the NAM does though. Remember, we looked at a sounding from the NAM. It does have a tendency to overdo things. So I think that, as you can see right here, this is 21Z. That's it. That's the cold front. And this is why I'm not that worried about like serious severe weather, is that everything goes through before the energy peaks. You see the issue here? So I'm still going to watch it because if that timing changes, we will have something to deal with. But for now, the timing does not line up with the energy that's available. So that's what I am looking at when it comes to Wednesday storms going into Thursday. Our tornado count for the year is up to about 26, I believe. Yeah, 26. You can see a couple of them. That was the Mayville event that went through Dodge County and into Fond du Lac County. And it also went through Lamira. Mayville was the one that ended up being an EF2. The highest one we've had this year, looks like all of them are pretty much ones, twos. Yeah, 2 was the highest we've had. And that was on 5/15, which was my birthday. But yes, we definitely had a couple of those tornado days. Normally we get 23 per year, so we're already above average. Last year, if you remember, we got 45 tornadoes, and the year before that, 2023, we had 21. As you can see, a lot of them like to hug near the state line, and then we get these batches that just like careen through much of areas towards Green Bay, and then also La Crosse and Eau Claire kind of get hit quite a bit. This year in 2023, there was nothing for them, but we've already had that bullseye right over them this year, and then down here as well. So very interesting. I think that we're not done for sure. We still have more tornado days ahead of us, but just something to consider and something to keep in mind as you guys are in the back of your brain thinking about where we're sitting when it comes to tornadoes. We do have some more activity as we go to Wednesday. I'll keep you guys posted on how that pans out. But that was kind of my deep dive in the forecast today, me looking at it with you as well. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Monday, and I will be back here tomorrow.